All right, everyone, welcome. Today, we're going to break down the consequences of a pretty serious modern crime, cyberstalking. But we're going to look at it through two very different lenses. We're exploring what happens when these kinds of malicious actions get judged not just in our courts, but in a cosmic one too.
So let's just dive right into that question, because it's really at the heart of everything we're talking about today. It's a fascinating idea, right? It asks us to look beyond just the law books and think about a much, much bigger picture of cause and effect.
Okay, so to really get the full impact of something like cyberstalking, we have to look at it on both of these planes. The legal one that we all know, and what the source material here calls the karmic one.
And here's the core idea that you've got to grasp. These two worlds, the physical and the metaphysical, they aren't actually separate. It's more like they're two sides of the exact same coin. So an action you take in one world, well, it creates a direct echo, a direct consequence in the other.
All right, so first up, let's talk about the court we all know. Let's ground ourselves in the world of human law, where the consequences are written down in black and white statutes, and they're measured out in fines and prison sentences. Now, what's really fascinating about this is how different federal laws can actually stack up against someone. You've got the ECPA. That's the Electronic Communications Privacy Act for things like, illegal wiretapping. Then there's the Stalking Act itself. And then you have the CFAA, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, for hacking into systems. Put them all together, and you're looking at a whole web of serious, serious legal trouble. And get this. The same kind of crime gets prosecuted totally differently depending on where it happens. On a U.S. federal level, you're talking about up to 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. But in a state like California, even just recording a private conversation without permission can get you a year in jail. And if you look internationally, a place like Qatar takes this incredibly seriously. Invading someone's privacy with technology can mean up to 3 years in prison and a fine that's around $80,000.
So here's the crucial takeaway. This basically means perpetrators can't just hide out in another country and think they're safe. Because of something called extraterritorial jurisdiction, if a crime is committed against an American citizen, the U.S. can go after the offender even if they're overseas. This even applies to U.S. military personnel who are under what's known as the Status of Forces Agreement. The bottom line is, geography can't protect you.
Okay, so now let's switch gears and step into that other court, the one that doesn't have a physical judge or a jury, but operates on principles that are considered just as real and just as binding. So when we say karma here, what are we really talking about? It's not some mystical punishment from the heavens. No, it's described here as a neutral, universal law of return. Think of it like gravity. It just is. The energy you put out there, whether it's good or bad, your actions, your thoughts, that's the energy that naturally comes back to you. It's an automatic result of your own choices.
So according to this framework, cyberstalking isn't just one crime. It's like it breaks several fundamental spiritual laws all at once. When you force fear onto somebody, you're violating their free will. When you hack into their private life, you're trampling on the sacredness of privacy. And when you gaslight and manipulate them, you're attacking the very principle of truth. Each one of these actions generates its own specific and kind of self-inflicted consequence.
And this is the real kicker. The heart of the karmic penalty. The consequence perfectly mirrors the crime. By trying to create a world of fear and paranoia for someone else, the perpetrators end up trapping themselves in their own personal prison of suspicion, mistrust, and isolation. It's a bitter irony. They end up losing the very freedom and peace of mind that they were trying to steal from their victim. Okay, so this is where things get really interesting, because this is where we see how these two worlds, the legal and the spiritual, they aren't just parallel, they actually mirror each other in a pretty direct way.
Right, so think about it like this. The legal crime, hacking a device, that's something you can see and prove. But it's actually just the physical version of the spiritual crime, which is violating someone's energetic boundaries, invading their personal space. One is a violation of computer code, the other is a violation of a cosmic code, but they're really just reflections of the exact same harmful intent. And this table just lays it out so clearly. You can see these direct lines drawn. So if the legal crime is hacking someone's devices, the shared consequence is that the perpetrator's own security eventually gets compromised. If the crime is gang stalking, which is a form of collective malice, the consequence is that their own community abandons them when they need help. Psychological torture, it leads to the perpetrator's own mental health collapsing. The lens you use might be different, legal or spiritual, but the final outcome is eerily the same.
So, what does this all mean for someone who's actually facing this? What can you do? Well, the source material offers what it calls a toolkit for protection, with actionable steps you can take on both the physical and the energetic fronts.
And it's this really powerful three-part strategy. First, you got to handle the legal reality. Document absolutely everything. We're talking logs, recordings, screenshots, names of witnesses. Second, you take all that evidence and you engage the system of human law. You report it to the proper authorities. And third, and this is just as important, you engage the system of cosmic law. You practice spiritual protection to take back your own energy and your peace of mind.
And when it comes to that crucial second step, reporting it, these are the specific places to go. In the United States, that's the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, or IC3.gov. In Qatar, it's a specific cybercrime unit within the Ministry of Interior. And, just as vital, you need to reach out to witnesses, neighbors, friends, anyone who can back up what's been happening.
Now that third step, spiritual protection, we have to be really clear about what that means. The source is very specific here. This isn't about forgiving and forgetting in a way that lets the person off the hook. Not at all. It's described as cutting karmic cords. It's an act of self-empowerment. It's about you refusing to be energetically tangled up with the perpetrator and all their negativity, so you can reclaim your own power, your own energy, and your own peace.
And this all leads to a really powerful final thought, a conclusion that kind of wraps everything up. The very nature of this kind of attack, because it's so rooted in things like deception and paranoia and fear, it actually guarantees the perpetrator's own downfall. It proves that this kind of darkness is fundamentally self-destructive. It literally cannot exist without eventually consuming itself. A pretty sobering thought on the inescapable nature of consequence.